My story starts in the jungle of Cameroon. My parents, who lived at the time, took my sister and I to visit this jungle. And so I get out of the car, I looked around, and I'm overwhelmed by the beauty of this wild jungle. I was surrounded by all kinds of birds chirping their songs away. And so we start our excursion. We took a canoe, we crossed the river, we followed the river to the depths of this jungle, and we were in search of this majestic, enormous tree we had heard of, this adobe tree. And so after hours of searching, we found this 1,000-year-old tree. And I remember standing there and feeling so small next to this big tree. And I don't know if you know, but in all of Africa, Cameroon has the second highest concentration in biodiversity. It's incredibly rich in flora and fauna. So after this wonderful day of exploring and we go back into the car, I roll down the window and this is what I see. And I see all these beautiful animals. But one of the things that really struck me when we were there was that I saw this. And I cannot tell you how shocking that was to see it with my own eyes. Because when you destroy a rainforest, you don't only destroy the habitat of the wildlife, but you also destroy the habitat and the livelihoods of the indigenous communities. You basically threaten their existence. And of course, this is not something that only takes place in Cameroon. As we all know, this takes place all around the world. It takes place, for example, in Canada, where the land has been cleared for the extraction of oil. It takes place in Malaysia, where the land has been cleared for the plantation of palm oil. And it takes place in West Papua, where we have our world's largest gold mine. This looks a lot like a crater, but it used to look like a mountain. And in fact, in the last 30 years, our global extraction of natural resources has increased by 80%. So you can imagine what kind of pressure this puts on our planet Earth to support us with water, minerals, and natural resources. And one of the issues that we're facing at the moment is overconsumption, right? In the next couple of years, our global population will increase drastically. The population of the emerging countries will double to 5 billion. And we will all want a mobile phone, eat meat, and have a laptop. And the problem with overconsumption is that it comes with a lot of waste. I mean, look at our mobile phones. Every year or two, a new model comes out, we throw our old phone and we get a new one. Our economy benefits from creating waste. Products are designed so that they can easily break down, so every time we stimulate consumers to buy over and over again. And this waste accumulates around the world, and it gets either burned, buried, or dumped. But here's something that struck me. For the poor communities, this is not something new. Waste has had value for a very long time. And so they come up with the most creative solutions to reuse what we call waste into something valuable. So for example, here you have a man who's making his own home using plastic bottles. Here in the slums, materials are optimally used. Everything has a function and a place. And here you have an example of a student housing in South Africa, which is made of silos and shipping containers. And others come up with creative solutions like this one. And so, in fact, waste is only waste in our own perception. So while others were treating it like waste, for them, these materials were valuable. For them, it was a waste to waste waste. So let me turn the question to you. What if plastic packaging was made of cash? Would you throw it away? What if, with 3D printing, you could make your own mobile case or your own boat? Or use the 3D printing to make your own fancy shoes? Would you throw it away? What about plastic bottles? Did you know that in the Netherlands, the price of a water bottle is 200 to 1,000 times more expensive than tap water? 90% of the cost is in fact in the bottle, the label, and the marketing. What if returning the bottle meant you only had to pay for the drink inside? Would you throw it away? And I think the answer would be no, because if waste had value, you would either use it, return it, or sell it. And that is the secret of a circular economy. In a circular economy, materials are continually reused through processes such as recycling, remanufacturing, and repair. And you can do this because you design products to be valued, and you manage the materials so that they can keep their value. And in fact, a lot of businesses today are already starting to implement these principles. Some have focused their business models on eliminating waste from their production lines. Others have focused their business models on extending the life of a product, so using it multiple times before recycling it, for example. And others focus on energy from renewable resources. And you can, of course, mix those together. So I will now give you some examples of businesses that are doing just that. So I will start with eliminate waste. Eliminate waste is, in fact, revaluing what we call waste. And some companies have taken that approach by, for example, using waste from another company to make their products. So here, for example, at the top, you have an example of a company that makes leather bags using the fish skin that's been discarded by the industry. On the left, at the bottom, you see a man who's growing mushrooms from the coffee waste. And on the right, you have a company that makes toilet paper from the beer labels, on the labels that you find on your beer. Another way, another approach to eliminating waste is to quite literally design it out of your product. So design a product that you can easily disassemble and then recycle or biodegrade it. So these are concepts that are quite familiar. So I'll give you some innovative companies that use that. So on the top left, you have an example of a company that makes jeans and garments using PET plastic bottles that have been dumped into the ocean. So what they do is they retrieve them, they recycle it, they mix it with fibers, and then you have a pair of jeans. And for a whole collection, a seasonal collection, they use 700,000 PET plastic bottles to do that. On the top right, you have an example of a company which makes plastic highways. It's one of the first companies to do that. And those highways are made of 100% recycled plastic. And one of the advantages is that it can withstand high temperatures. It is flood-proof, so they have these compartments at the bottom where the water can flow through. And you can also put, of course, cables underneath. And the lifetime of these highways are, in fact, 3 times more than the highways that we have now. And the 2 examples at the bottom are examples of biodegradable products. On the bottom left, you have edible cutlery, and on the right, you have biodegradable shoes. So if your shoes are worn out, you could technically bury it. The shoe will decompose, and the seeds that are at the tongue of your shoe will lead to, a plant may bloom. And thirdly, another way to eliminate waste is, for example, through reuse and repurpose. So on the top left, you have, for example, a company which will use old men's shirts and redesign it into boxer shorts. So the materials are kept the same, except it's given a different function. And on the right, you have, for example, shipping containers, which are transformed into homes. And this is a table which has been used from wood that's been discarded by the industry or by consumers. So these are all examples of companies that have come up with creative ways to prevent their materials from actually ending up in the bin. Other companies look at business models that help extend the life of a product, so by reusing it multiple times before you decide to recycle it. So one example of a business model is the take-back model. So here you have a company that makes office chairs. It will sell you a chair, and it will make sure to get it back. It will actually pay you 50 euros to get their chair back, because for them these materials are valuable. What's broken is repaired, what's outdated is upgraded, and what's obsolete is recycled. And this chair is made in a modular way, so you can easily disassemble it, repair what you need to repair, put it back together, and sell it again. Another example of a business model is leasing. Here you have an example of a company that makes carpets out of plastic that has been dumped into the ocean. So they retrieve that plastic, they recycle it, they make you a carpet, they lease it to you, and a client will pay a fixed amount of money per month for a period of time that you're interested. And the company will sell you literally their services. It will take care of the damages if something is stained, or let's say if you want to remodel your room or, let's say, move to another location, they will take care of all those services. The advantage for the client is that they feel unburdened. And another advantage is that you help clean up the ocean. You help support the local communities. And for the company, they save costs on the purchasing side. Another example is sharing and renting. And here you have an example of a company. It's a type of a marketplace, but for business-to-business sharing marketplace. And it focuses, for example, on the construction industry and the medical industry. And it helps companies share their equipment instead of actually buying one. I mean, if you think about the drills, how often do we use a drill? On average, it's around 7 minutes. So why buy something if you're not going to use it? And lastly, a lot of companies look at the energy aspect. How can we use renewable energy? Here you have an example of a company. This is the head offices. It used to be 6 individual buildings, and they wanted a new building. So instead of demolishing everything and putting a brand new building, they said, well, how can we reuse our materials? And so instead of demolishing, they decided, well, let's put a roof on top. And now this building is made of 80% renewable resources. They hardly had to buy any materials. The wood from the tables has been used for the walls. The toilets have been reused. The plastic bottles have been recycled to chairs. And what's also fascinating is that they use 80% renewable energy as well. So solar panels have been put above parking places. They make use of windmills. They have underground thermal storage. And this rooftop collects also rainwater, which they water the plants with and flush their toilets. And as you can see, it has these interesting domes on the rooftop, and it can help contract and expand. So like this, they can regulate the amount of light that passes through, as well as the climate inside the building. So it also helps them save energy. Another example is this hospital. This hospital has a lot of bioplastic products, dishes or cutlery, but also just hospital equipments. And what they can do is throw them in this grinder, which will break them into small pieces. It will go through the drain, and it will go to this treatment facility that you see on the right. And what happens is that the organic waste and the biodegradable products are turned into biogas, which they can reuse to make their own electricity or energy. And the water is treated again and reused. And lastly, another example here is this project here in the desert. Their mission is to solve issues or tackle issues, urgent issues that we experience around the world, like water scarcity, food scarcity, our energy demands, and climate change. And their mission is to revegetate the desert, and through a profitable production of food, water, electricity, and biomass. And so they have these different types of technologies. They have this concentrated solar power to generate electricity and heat. They have a saltwater cooled greenhouse to grow high quality products and plants with low water requirements and high yield. They produce their own biomass for energy purposes. And they desalinate water to create their own fresh water and irrigate the plants. So it's a beautiful way of closing the loop and tackling urgent issues through using renewable resources. And so here's what fascinates me. All these examples that I've just shared with you, for me, are a great illustration of how circular business models can help make the sustainability, in fact, profitable. And a circular economy comes with a great economic potential. So for example, it has been estimated that a circular economy in the whole of Europe can bring a net benefit of 1.8 trillion euros by 2030. And this can be accompanied by better social outcomes, an increase by 3,000 euros in household income, a decrease in 50% in the emission of carbon dioxide compared to our current levels, an extra 3 million jobs across EU, and a decrease in unemployment by 500,000 jobs. And so yes, businesses can make a profit from the reuse of materials. And so let's change our perception of waste. Let us rethink the way we live and do business and make money. Let us no longer destroy the most valuable aspects that we have of our earth. Let's not destroy the beauty of our earth. Let us no longer waste to waste, waste.